Chapter 21. Sasha woke naturally, apparently having set no alarms. Her muscles ached, but her head was clear. What wasn't clear was what the fuck happened yesterday. The events started coming back, but the lost parts were still gone, possibly forever. Down the cosmic rabbit hole, or was it a shredder? She was so eager for answers she bypassed her usual coffee ritual and reached straight for a nauseatingly sweet can of liquid energy. After a quick chug, she slammed it on her desk, wiping her mouth with the back of her hand. Grabbing the dive mask she was supposed to back up last night, she connected it to her laptop. Sasha replayed the footage with shock and awe for the next couple of hours. All the mechanical Newtonian sequences of events were there. Straight facts. What wasn't there, however, were the disembodied voices. Also missing were the tendrils of golden, metallic energy emanating from the quartz cylinder. So basically, all the crazy shit she swore had happened. The father, she repeated after hearing herself say it in the video. But mostly sober Sasha laughed at her poisoned, babbling other self. The odd words she repeated in the cave now sounded like childish, superstitious make-believe. Hadn't she seen those things, heard those voices, and been guided by them to do the things she had? The verbal exchange was evident on the tape, but it was painfully and embarrassingly one-sided. So no proof of any kind, except whatever remained of that tar-like handprint. Obviously, she could never show this to investors. Obviously, this could never be revealed to anyone, not even Danny or PT. She disconnected the mask, ejecting the memory card with a click. Grabbing her scissors, she snipped it in half. Shit. That was probably a mistake, she thought immediately. Blaming the lack of judgment on her residual altered reality hangover, she let out a deep sigh and then a short laugh. The entire experience only existed in her memories now. At least her personal, bizarre journey would remain safely secret. Arising, she wearily shuffled over to the window. Folding her arms, she looked out at the archway leading to the ocean and cliffs. She thought of the sea pool and that troublesome monkey. Inadvertently, it had led her to the peak of her career. But that elevated vista was nothing compared to the spiritual roller coaster she survived inside the cave. Turning from the window, Sasha paced to work off the antsy feeling creeping over her. As she did, an alternative plan percolated in her mind. Okay, first, collect the resin. Analyze the resin. Do not talk about the resin. Suddenly, Sasha realized her life was about to take a hard swerve from archaeology. And that probably meant their little trio was over. She shook off the sadness. There wasn't any time for that now. Focus, Sasha. Damn you. After that, use the mummies and artifacts for further funding. Instead of all those independent contracts, present a silent edited video. Email it quietly to my contacts in academia, government, all my old shovel bum pals. Auction it off to the highest bidder, and let them slap their corporate logos all over the exhibits. Give Danny and PT their shares, and bank the rest. Somewhere offshore, but legal-ish. And, sigh, pay my taxes. But even guaranteed mountains of cash were doing nothing for Sasha right now. Besides keeping the lights on and buying excellent whiskey, money seemed irrelevant. Then, as if her attention span was on a messed up OCD loop, the black handprint flashed again in her mind. I have to get back in there, grab every ounce of plant matter or strange substances and turn with those mummies, and get it into cold storage. Danny is never going to duck dive through that passageway. Hell, he doesn't even like getting his posh hairdo wet. But PT seemed razzle-dazzled enough to go back in, and soon, by how worked up she was. I just have to beat her to it. Sneaking out and... what? Make more of it? Sasha asked the universe shyly, looking up for some reason. But even as she laid out her new plan, she didn't know why. Sasha also didn't know why anyone, herself included, would voluntarily go through the same psychotic luge run she had just a day ago. And yet, even as Sasha doubted her decision, she was back at the window, gazing out towards the sea cave. It was a strange itch indeed, or rather, a scratch on the surface of a world she never knew existed. And admittedly, it may still not exist outside of her confused, drugged mind. A drugged mind that, unbeknownst to Sasha, she was still very much under the influence of. The nagging in her gut, the pulling at the back of her skull, told her that the only answers she would find, needed to see, were locked up and hidden inside the chemistry of that dark paste. And she only had a literal handful left. That feeling of a dwindling stash, possibly running out of her magical molasses, initiated another skip. Sasha was pacing again with a rush of disjointed re-entry, an effect she was learning to ignore. "Yes," she said, as the resin steered and accelerated her mind like a jet-powered, otherworldly gondolier. "A small, secure mobile lab would work perfectly, and I can justify any esoteric equipment under the guise of analyzing the artifacts and collecting the samples. And that altar, I need to scour it for—" She was back at the window with glassy eyes, vibrating head to toe from abrupt arrival. "The resin. Analyze the resin," Sasha said, her hypnotized breath frosting the glass. With a relentless, subliminal whisper, Lasoni's tomb kept calling to Sasha, "The resin, the resin, the resin."